Welcome to another episode of Challenging the Norm. Here's an Hers look at life and business with your hosts, Paul Snell and myself, Lindsay Burden. The podcast for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and business owners that want to experience success in their own way. Wrestling with the topics that matter and reality checking the latest trends in business. Paul works with business owners, showing them how they can take the stress out of transforming teams into performance powerhouses that love what they do, while I offer business coaching that empowers ambitious women in business to create financial abundance and a time-rich lifestyle without sacrificing their joy. Well, here we are with another episode. Paul, you and I sat discussing the latest topics, the things that are getting on our nerves, and quite often, things that we know we are doing. And we've got a great topic today, or a good question for us to answer, haven't we?
In fact, it is a question as well. And I love that because we get to wrestle and come up with our view of that question. And then everyone else that's listening and watching can come up with theirs. Of course, we're really interested to know their view too.
We are. So the question today, Paul, should you choose to answer it, what are you putting off in your business and why?
Yes, huge question. And the minute you say that out loud and I have to listen to it, my mind goes to all the things that I really don't want to do, because they're almost always the things that we put off, right? And it's one of those quirky sort of points and conversational pieces, this question, because I think people know. I think people actually know what they're putting off. I don't think it's a lack of knowledge. I don't think it's a lack of awareness. I think we all know the stuff we're putting off that we really should be doing.
We do, but why do we put it off?
Yeah, well, a bunch of reasons behind that. The first one for me that always jumps out is it makes us feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it does.
You know, we can get onto things like, well, it involves hard work and all this sort of thing. But actually, the first response to anybody, if I talk to anyone or any clients about why they might be putting off something that they know they need to do, they'll tell, well, it's uncomfortable. I don't like the idea of doing it. Thanks, Paul. Whether that's vulnerability, whether that's not really understanding what the outcome could be like, either way, I think we know, and I think we feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, so it's finding a way of recognizing what you are putting off, and most importantly, the why, and then finding your way around that why. And that requires a degree of honesty, actually. And I think that's another challenge to it. We know what it is we're putting off, if I could say it. We quite often know why, but then we have to find a way of addressing that and being really honest with ourselves. And being honest with ourselves can be quite scary in itself. And I'm sure there are people out there going, oh, I'm not doing that. And I know I should be doing that. And I think if we can then connect with the vision, what difference will it make to our business? What difference will it make to the end goal? How will it move us forward? But even with that, you can still be left thinking, I know why I need to be doing it. I know all those things, but it's just really scary.
Yeah. I think there are two bits here. You've nailed the first bit. I think there needs to be a motivation to do the thing. And the motivation should always be to move something forward.
Yeah.
Whether that's business or your development, whatever it might be. But in a business context, if it will move your business forward, there's the first tick.
Yeah.
The second tick is to deal with this idea of that appears scary. And in my experience, which is not too small, in my experience, this scary stuff is pretty irrational, to be honest. And it's irrational from a number of contexts. Firstly, rarely is it as bad as you think it's going to be, remember, because we're wired to expect the worst.
Yeah.
And secondly, lots of people have done it. Whatever it is you need to do, well, I can promise you someone else has already done it and they survived. And so I think the idea of scary is because of the unknown. The idea of scary can be, let's pick something really simple here. For a lot of people, having their photo on social media is scary because the way they look, they might not be a certain way they want to appear. And so they refrain from doing that. And even when the statistics go, do you know what, Paul? The most engagement you get on LinkedIn is when you see a picture of yourself, and they like to see your normal human being, and you actually are real, and you're going to get more engagement. And yet, I still sit there going, really, my face on social media? And I think that's a big part, is the fact that most fear of doing the thing is pretty irrational. Now, I'm going to caveat that and say one way that I always use and recommend is to make sure you're fully aware and knowledgeable about the things that you're not doing that you know you need to do. Right.
Yeah.
So a classic, Lindsay, might be if you're really putting off sales conversations, get some training, become more aware of what it is. And I can absolutely tell you, when you understand a sales call is a lot of fun, you will start doing that thing.
I think it's also, we put emphasis on the thing that we don't want to do. And sales is a really great example. I don't like selling. I'm not good at selling. I don't like being sold to, and we just put so much pressure on this thing that then it almost makes it impossible for us to find our own way. And selling's a really, really good example. But also, I just want to bring something else into the conversation. If you're really fearful of something, so if actually, creating videos and putting videos out into the ether filled you with dread, there are other ways for you to be visible. So if you love writing, for example, you can be blogging on your website, you could write a book. There are other ways. And I would say that, when I've worked with clients before and they say, oh, I hate doing that. Okay, so if you hate doing that, and if we can't find a way around it, what do you really love doing? And so there is a pressure, and you and I have talked about this before. There is this external pressure that says we must be visible, we must do video, we must have our picture attached to every post. We must. But actually, it's about saying, well, what is it that I want to do? What's important to me? How do I want to come across? How do I want to engage? And just because video is the be all and the end all doesn't mean to say that you have to do it. I mean, when we started this podcast, we didn't have a video element. I preferred it, to be fair. I didn't have to worry about what my hair looked like or whether I was having a bad day. But there are positives to it, because now we can see how your beard is doing. Now we've had
Thanks.
a few weeks, months even, still there. But it worries me that particularly for those at the beginning of their business journey, they feel like there are so many things that they have to do, and yet some of them are not comfortable. So if you're at the beginning of your journey, I would suggest you go, right, what am I comfortable doing? What would I like to learn to do? What am I interested in? Maybe it's slightly different as we've been in business longer. And then when you get to sort of mine is 10, and I think yours is more than that. I think you get to that point and you go, do you know what? I'm not doing anything I don't like doing. I'm going to do more of what I love. You get to a point where you have the confidence to be able to make those decisions. But I just feel that there is this bombarding of what we should and shouldn't be doing. And then that puts a huge amount of pressure, particularly on those at the beginning of their journey.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And two things came to mind while you're saying it. One was, we can become fixated on an action that we stop then looking for an alternative way to do it. All we can hear when we do social media, if you read all the marketing stuff around effective social media, it will talk about getting on there with a video or how important that is. And we can become fixated on that. And as you just described, it isn't the only way. Business isn't one way. Business has got lots of ways to achieve. And one of the things you've just said, which is so critical, you've really got to enjoy what you do. Otherwise, you're not going to do the things that you know you need to do. You're just not, right? Not only is that thing uncomfortable, but if you're not enjoying the whole thing, then it's like you're never going to have the motivation to do it. But I do believe this idea of fixating is challenging. And let's be clear what I mean by that. There are lots of books about how to run a successful business. There are lots of people who will give you good advice. And some of that stuff you're not going to like.